Flipco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. It's time for Inbox, and we are brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Go online anytime and order your pizza at papajohns.com. Barry, our inbox has all sorts of great questions. Let's get started with David talking about the Tyreek Hill situation. I'm shocked by the terrible news about the Bedlam hero, but I'm so glad there was no wait and see or go to a court of law to determine Tyreek Hill's fate as it relates to Oklahoma State.
I think it's a good point, and we've talked about this Tyreek Hill as it relates to the Ray Rice issue, and I think there's been a time in the past where a college football program, whether it's Mike Gundy's or somebody else's, they would wait it out and let it run its course and see what happens. But what we saw with Tyreek Hill is a couple things. One, a very quick and immediate charge, serious charge, and then in the face of the Ray Rice wake, I think Mike Gundy did really the only thing he could, which was act swiftly. I'm glad also. I'm with David here. Yeah. It's good that this did not drag out.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well, because you never know what'll happen in the courts. Somewhere along the line, somebody might say, we don't want to press charges. We don't have enough of a case. They may plead out, and instead of a felony, it becomes a misdemeanor. And a team might say, oh, all right, we'll do a long-term suspension, but then the player can come back. But to me, I think now we're starting to see coaches, athletic directors, school presidents, and chancellors say, yes, he is going to get his day in court. Courts are going to get to decide if he's guilty or innocent of the charges that he faces. But they are taking steps to look into situations. We saw it with the Joe Mixon situation as the leaders at OU went and viewed the video. They did an investigation to basically determine as much as they could, talking to people that were involved, seeing as much evidence as they could, and then they made a decision. I get the feeling like Mike Gundy did the same, Mike Holder, Vern Targus. Schools are now saying, how much can we do? How quickly can we get this information to sort of fill in some blanks and then make a determination? And I'm with David, I'm with you, Barry. I think they made a great call. I think it was the right call. You just can't let that sort of thing be a part of your program. All right, back to the inbox. Larry says, can the OU coaching staff be trusted in the bowl game after its erratic behavior this season? Not sure what the alternative is, Barry, but Larry brings up a good question here.
Well, and I would actually want some more information out of Larry. Be trusted to do what? Continue to be erratic? It has been a very poor coaching season for the Sooners, even before Bob Stoops' inane decision to re-kick to Tyreek Hill. Constant timeouts because of confusion, constant misassignments by players, particularly on the defensive side. Everybody likes to lump onto Josh Heupel and any offensive coordinator, but the truth of the matter is, OU has been poorly coached on defense this season, and it's been a terrible defensive season for Oklahoma in that regard. I think you can trust the Sooners to play better in the bowl game, primarily because Clemson is not an offensive juggernaut. Got a backup quarterback. They've gone with their freshman's phenom. He's hurt. He won't play. Cliff Stout's son, will quarterback Clemson. He's been very ineffective. This is not Baylor or TCU or a Big 12 standard offense that the Sooners are going to face. I think the OU defense will play better. I think OU coaches will coach better in this bowl game. A little too late.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think the biggest problems are on defense. It's really easy for people to get hung up on the offense, as Barry mentioned, and Josh Heupel. But if you look at the production across the board and stack him up against other offensive coordinators, it's not, that to me is not where the big issues are now. You can single out certain games. Baylor obviously was a total train wreck. They couldn't score. They stopped going to what their strength was, which was Samaje Perine. So you can definitely hang that on Josh Heupel. But the defense had every bit the same level of problems, if not more, in that Baylor game. So they've got to be better defensively. There was a play in the Bedlam game. Brandon Shepard runs basically a very simple post route. And whoever was covering it, I can't remember who it is, essentially did a 360, spun all the way around, had no idea which way Brandon Shepard was going to go. I mean, they're just not real sound defensively. And frankly, that's what we've seen in a lot of those games that they lost. Just couldn't get it together defensively. All right, back to the inbox from Dell. He says, when is the Big 12 going to wake up and bring Colorado State and Houston on board? UH is a sleeping giant, second largest enrollment in Texas.
All right, well, let's take a note here. The Big 12 is asleep because Dell says, when are they going to wake up? And UH is asleep. They're a sleeping giant. Everybody's asleep. I hope everybody stays asleep. Colorado State and Houston would not enhance the Big 12. We're talking about programs with fan bases, 22,000 people at football games. That's not what the Big 12 needs. That doesn't enhance the brand. It doesn't increase the television package. It becomes they become a take program. In other words, they'll take from the Big 12 instead of add to the Big 12. I don't think Colorado State or Houston is the answer. I think Brigham Young is the only name brand out there that can enhance the Big 12. I don't see a 12th school right now. I support the Big 12 sort of standing pat at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Colorado State and Houston are, I'm not saying they're bad, but think about it this way. If you're sitting at home on a Thursday night, a Saturday night, and you flip around and you see that Colorado State's playing a game or Houston's playing a game, are you for sure going to stop and watch? I'm for sure is no, you're not going to. So to me, you've got to really try to find some teams that will draw those TV eyes. And I think what you said about attendance at their own games is a great point. You know, where are the schools that are really drawing nice and large crowds on a consistent basis? You know, the point about second largest enrollment in Texas, sure, that's great. But unless people are watching and those same people are watching in the kind of numbers that you see other schools getting, I just don't think that's the right call. I think the Big 12 will try hard to get that exemption for the championship game, because to me, that's sort of an issue of one of these things is not like the other. Maybe it doesn't get you in, but if the other Power 5 conferences are doing it, to me, you got to make a push to try to get that title game, and they've already asked for it. We'll see what happens. All right, one more time to the inbox, and Edward says, why did Bob Stoops not tell his punter to kick it out of bounds?
You know what? This is one of the better questions we've had because it shows how football has changed. Back before you came along, Jackie O, we had coffin corner punts. We had kickers who tried to angle it out of bounds. That's sort of gone out of style. Punters don't try that much anymore. They go into the pooch kicking, which is what Jed Barnett did against Oklahoma State. You just loft it high, let the coverage run under it, and pin somebody deep that way. Too much risk, I think coaches feel like about a coffin corner kick. If you miss it too much the short way, instead of the 10, it might be the 25. So it's sort of a lost art. What I think I would answer to Edward is what Bob Stoops should have done if he was all fired up to re-kick is tell him to kick it over the north stands. Yeah. Kick it onto the north oval on campus. Kick it in the end zone. Don't go risking putting the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands.
Well, and if you watch that punt, I was actually down on the field in the south end zone watching, so I was behind. I saw the view as the punt was going down the field. And he definitely, it was tailing towards his right. Tyreek Hill had to really make a move to run under it. He did a heck of a job to get himself turned around the right way, so when he caught it, he took right off. But as he was angling to get himself under it, I thought, man, he's got a good chance to not even catch this thing. His shoulder pads were kind of sideways, and he was kind of sidestepping. But he did a fantastic job to get under it. And I think there are a lot of alternatives to what could have happened on that play. Kicking it out of bounds, clearly for the Sooners, would have been a better decision than what happened. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.